Hello, and welcome to Dawn's Craft Riot's first YouTube video that was made explicitly for YouTube. Woohoo! I mean, not like YouTube asked me to make it or whatever, but I'm not live streaming on any other, well, on this or any other service at the moment. This is just a video for you guys. So I'm going to use Forever in Time items that I got at my dollar store. This particular one was $2 for a set of cling stamps. Not that that matters. And I'm also going to use the same brand Forever in Time craft card bases. So this is craft paper card bases and envelopes. So that is that taken care of for me. I don't have to think about that one bit. Don't have to make my own craft paper. I have craft cardstock that I can make for the card bases, but then my envelopes will be made out of cardstock as well, which is a bit heavier than I'd like. So anyways, I'm going to use the sentiment Thinking of You from this stamp set, from this Forever in Time stamp set. Pardon me. And I already have that on a block. You can't see what it says. You'll see it in a bit. I'm making a simple card today. Super simple card. Here is my craft card base. Already scored, came scored, and then I've cut myself, that sounds wrong, I've cut a piece of paper. Oh, don't blur, my friend, not today. Let us not blur. Let us stay clear in our focus. I'm going to be doing some stamping on this extra paper. This is a different color than my craft paper. It's more green, but it's still sort of a beige or tanny kind of color that I thought would go nicely with the craft, because what I'd like to do is a fake or faux wood look. So I'm going to use, aside from my dollar store stuff, I'm also going to use Stampers Anonymous Tim Holtz collection wallpaper and wood. I'm going to use the wood stamp, background stamp. And I have a nice piece, a big piece of plexiglass that I'm going to put my stamp on. Doesn't really have to be in the middle. Now, if I didn't have that piece of plexiglass, I could have removed this other stamp from this nice thick acetate backing and used this to help me position my stamp. Or use no backing, because as you'll see, I'm going to stamp with the stamp facing upwards. So you could just lay it down on like your craft sheet. Anyhow, I know that not everybody has the big pieces of plexiglass available to them. I'm using Ranger Archival Ink Sepia Tone, or color, or whatever you want to call it, sepia color ink, and I'm going to ink up my stamp while it's face up as well. So not only am I going to stamp it face up, I'm going to ink it face up. So that little sheet of cardstock that I showed you that was a slightly greener color is 1/4 of an inch shorter on both the width and the height than my card base. And of course I only measured the one panel of the card base because it will be folded in half. Alright, I'm just making sure this is really, really inked up well. It's kind of hard to do when you're doing it that way. It's also hard to do when you're doing it the other way, because this is just a big stamp. I'm going to take my piece of cardstock and I'm just going to position it over top of my stamp. And I do have a little bit of leeway. It is smaller than my stamp, so I can decide, do I want this edge, that edge? What part do I want to center it as closely to the middle as I can? Whatever I like. It's all up to me. You do what you like. You could also do this technique using a gelatin plate. I'm just using an extra piece of paper to press down my stamped image, because I know that there's ink on this edge that's not covered with paper that'll get all over my hand if I'm not careful. But you could use a wood graining tool on a gelatin plate and then take a print of that and then use that paper as the wood part of this. Or if you have a pattern paper that has a wood pattern on it, you could use that instead of doing a stamp. All right, so that is my wood pattern stamp. Now I can see that I did bring my paper a little bit further to the edge than I would like, so I can see that there's sort of just a gap where there's no stamped image at the top and the side, where at the bottom it goes all the way, runs off the edge, and this end it runs off the edge. But I think it's going to be fine. I'm just going to leave it as is. If I was really super worried about it, I could definitely trim that down a tiny bit. Or if I had a really precise trimmer, my trimmer might, because it's got an old blade, might leave a not as nice an edge as I have right now. So I'm just going to leave that be and not worry about it. All right, I also have another little piece of paper, the same color as that I'm going to stamp again with the Ranger Sepia ink. And don't forget, this is archival ink, so it is waterproof. It doesn't matter in this instance because I'm not going to do anything to it, but if you want to just spray on that or something, the archival ink wouldn't move about with water. Once it's dry, it is good and permanent. All right, so just pushing that down. Oh, and I can see that it's an interesting thing. I didn't ink up these dots. That's what happens when you get a dollar store stamp. This is the first time that I've stamped this stamp, and I can see that up in this corner you lose some of those little hash marks. So I'm going to watch that closely in future and see if it's possible to get those. But in this case, again, I'm not going to worry about it. Sorry, just stamping off my stamp. That's all of the cleaning I will do on that stamp. Just give it a stamp on the paper. All right, so let's cut this out. I don't mind it like this. Like I say, this is a sort of rustic card, so I'm not going to attempt to get those little hash marks there. But I am going to pay attention to it in future, like I say. Like I say, you know. All right, so we're almost there, guys. We've almost completed the entire card. So I'm going to, here's a tip. You probably know this if you already work with cards, but when you buy a handmade card, or when you buy a store-bought card base, you want to fold towards this mountain, is what they'd call that, because they've scored it. There's an indent on this side, there's a mountain on this side, and you want the mountain to be inside of your card. I've also found that these cards aren't scored exactly in half. So sometimes when you go ahead and crease your edge down, you get a bit of a lip. But that's just the way it is with these cards, and I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to put the bit with the extra piece, like with the little overhang, as my front of my card. I don't think it really matters, but that's just how I'm going to do it. I'm going to attach this piece on the front using some of my Suk Wang tape, my Be Creative tape. Oh, holy smokes. And that's where that piece is sticking. This is really sticky tape. If you happen to drop it down on your piece, that's where it's going to go. So, good thing it doesn't matter what shape or size. Well, size, I don't want these to stick out to the front of the card, but it doesn't matter what shape they are. So, hooray for us. It'll work out fine. If I dropped that on the front of the card, I would have had to restamp. Just so you know, for reference, this tape is really sticky, as it should be. All right, we're almost there. Get that tape down. I could have done this previous, but it would have made my stamping more likely to fail, just because it would be a little bit lumpy with the backing on. It's not as lumpy with the backing off, but you can't pull the backing off until you're ready to stick it down. But this way you can see my process. You didn't see the process of me cutting down this sheet of cardstock to just fit just slightly smaller than my card front, but I bet you could do that without, even without the instruction. And now I'm just going to eyeball it, line it up so that the top and bottom look even to me, and then try and get the edge to about the same amount of width as you have on the top and bottom. And then stick it down and hope it's in the right spot, because it is not going anywhere. And then on the back of this, I'm going to go ahead and put a couple foam dots, which again I got at my, oh no, I'm wrong. I was about to say I got these at the dollar store, but I didn't. These are Recollections brand, I believe, from Michaels. I save all of these in between, all of the bits that were around the circles, because that is also excellent, excellent foam, double-sided foam tape, basically. So I will cut that down. As you can see, I've cut bits off of the side and try and make good use of everything I have. All right, so pop those off. I'm going to put this right here. Thinking of you. So there you go. There's a thinking of you card. Really easy to make. Now, of course, you could go ahead and stamp on the back, you know, handmade with love. You could stamp a sentiment inside if you want, or you could just write inside. It's just a super simple masculine card that anybody could make. So there you go. I hope you feel inspired to make something. I am still working on getting live streaming happening on my channel, so stay tuned. You could go to Dawn's Craft Riot on Facebook for all the updates there, telling you when I will be streaming if I manage to get that far. And other than that, it may just be me making videos for you here on YouTube. But I thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.